The International Space Station, the largest laboratory ever built in space, weighs about 450 tons, and one day it will fall back to Earth. There are several flaws in this international cooperation, which is causing confusion among countries, and this could become the biggest threat to human civilization. So, how can this mega structure, the International Space Station, be brought back to Earth safely? So, in the end, this mega gave the message of international civilization. So, in the end, how did the mega gave the civilization? So, in the end, how did this mega structure deliver the message of international civilization? So in the end, this megastructure gave the message of civilization. So in the end, how did this megastructure give the message of civilization? But now the problem is that whatever fuel and cargo they need to work on it, Russia is the one who supplies it. Theoretically, it's not even possible to lift this giant beast from low Earth orbit and completely take it out of Earth's atmosphere, because lifting such a heavy structure would be very expensive. If you want to treat it like a museum, then to do that, you would have to bring the space station down to Earth without breaking or burning it. But that's not possible either, because deconstructing the ISS is neither feasible nor possible. Disassembling the space station is also a big challenge. It's certain that the space station won't stay in orbit forever. It will eventually bid farewell to our sky after shining there and disappear from everyone's sight. So there are two ways in which the International Space Station will fall to Earth. Either we will deliberately bring it down through the atmosphere in a controlled manner, or it will deorbit uncontrollably and crash onto our Earth. On one hand, those will truly be glorious moments for us. A great scientific experiment of humanity at its final stage will definitely make us feel a sense of greatness. But uncontrolled deorbit, without question, is a dangerous approach. The ISS is even bigger than a football field in size. The path it orbits above the Earth is where about 90% of the Earth's population lives. However, till now, no humans have been harmed by a falling spacecraft. Controlled re-entry is dangerous for people on Earth. It will cause many deaths, injuries, and property damage. But more than that, that day will remain a dark stain in the history of science. People will remember the last journey of ISS as a bad day. Now, because this will be a global event, the eyes of the whole world will be on ISS that day, but that day will definitely not be a good one. So what is the safest way to bring ISS down? NASA officials say that if somehow ISS can be dropped into the South Pacific Ocean, far from populated areas, the risk of damage will be greatly reduced. This plan is very risky. Let me explain how. The space station completes one orbit in about 1.5 hours, which means it travels about 250 miles per minute on Earth, and as the Earth rotates, its ground track keeps changing continuously. Now, the more time the ISS spends falling through the atmosphere, its parts will disintegrate and cause destruction over a large area of 250 miles every minute. To avoid this, we have to bring the space station back to Earth as quickly as possible, but the problem is that the space station cannot be brought down quickly. If we do that, it will crash into the atmosphere with great force. This will increase air resistance and the entire station will break up into large pieces, like its solar arrays and modules will go out of control on unpredictable paths, making loss of life and property almost certain. Besides, the irregular geometry of the space station increases this danger even more. That's why it's necessary that when the ISS enters our Earth's atmosphere, this re-entry should be completely controlled. The space station should remain stable while coming down. If there is even a little tumbling or shaking, the rockets used for deorbiting can also lose their balance. And a terrible During that cycle, the atmosphere keeps getting thicker and thinner, and apart from that, our atmosphere keeps changing continuously due to the passing of day and night. If you are deorbiting a large and heavy structure like the ISS, this becomes even more. It is near to impossible to do, and if you add up all these facts, the process will work something like this. For a few weeks or even a few months, the ISS will be left for natural orbital decay, and it will slowly and after deciding this, a destabilization effect will be seen on the ISS. It will start to wobble slightly. When this happens at an altitude of 125 miles, mission controllers will adjust its trajectory by making a slight change and using a rocket burn. Its circular orbit will be changed to an elliptical orbit, and its minimum distance from Earth will be kept at 90 miles, which means it will still be kept outside Earth's atmosphere. After this, it's will be seen how this unbelievable mission will be carried out. Until now, NASA officials have said that 3 Russian Progress vehicles together will deorbit the ISS, but this plan has not been finalized because if we rely on just one, keep the pad ready. Besides this, connecting them, keeping them joined together, and doing all this work within a short period of time, it's nothing less than a challenge. And when it comes to the US-Russia partnership on the ISS, things are not easy here. Since Russia invaded Ukraine, the relationship between these two countries has reached its lowest point since the Cold War. Ideologically and politically, both these countries are It is believed that by 2028, Russia will withdraw its support and everything from the space station, but NASA is not ready for this yet. Russia is highly skilled in aerospace technology, and replacing its technology so quickly there have been such events that the world's trust in Russian-built hardware has started to decrease. In 2018, the Russian Soyuz spacecraft docked with the space station, and later it was found that air was leaking from a small hole in it. The news spread that the Russians had deliberately drilled such a hole. In the same year, a Russian flight carrying 2 cosmonauts had to abort the mission due to a launch failure. In 2021, a science module was finally ready, although it was originally supposed to be launched in 2007. Even after so many delays, there were many issues with this module, including misfiring of the thrusters, which caused the station to go off course. Last year in August, Russia's first lunar mission in almost 5 decades also crashed on the moon. Seeing all this, an American Deorbit vehicle becomes necessary for NASA because in any way, relying on Russia If someone wants to make a single deorbit vehicle, there aren't many options available. Our existing technology isn't sufficient for such a deorbit vehicle, but NASA does have the closest existing technology, and that is the Artemis program's European service module, which took NASA's uncrewed Orion capsule into orbit around the moon. And in the coming time, this will also take humans to the moon. Apart from this, whatever else is there is either too weak or way too powerful, or they simply can't carry enough fuel to accomplish this task. That's why NASA has put forward a commercial proposal to build custom-built deorbit vehicles. If NASA tries a new vehicle or puts the existing vehicles to work, just this one decision can create ripples in US-Russia relations and other international relations, because the end of the space station will be decided only with everyone's agreement. But here, NASA's public documents do not make it clear whether the USA has obtained consent from the Canadian, Japanese, European, and Russian space agencies to execute this plan commercially or not. The end of this project in such a way is becoming a hot topic of discussion around the world. Most of the discussion is about future partnerships in space. NASA is partnering with other countries through the Artemis Accord, which includes India, but Russia is not a part of it. This shows that the closeness between these two countries, which the ISS helped to increase, might not have been possible through any other effort. Now everyone is clear that Russia wants to leave the ISS and the other countries will have to take charge of it. The final journey of the ISS will mark the beginning of a new era on Earth. But no matter what happens, that day will be very precious and everyone will want to witness that moment. And in this way, the International Space Station will bid us farewell. And the most dangerous thing is that we still don't even know how many types of bacteria live on our International Space Station. But now NASA wants to find this out. Recently, astronauts have collected samples from almost every corner of the ISS. It's kind of like conducting a census of those microbial astronauts, so that we can understand them, and if they are dangerous, we can eliminate them or stop them, so that no sci-fi movie-like incident can happen on the ISS hundreds of kilometers above. Or if there are long-duration missions like going to Mars, how to deal with them. Bacteria are always around us. It is believed that there are as many bacteria on and inside our body as there are human cells inside us. You can consider humans as a moving ecosystem because of them. Scientists believe that most of these bacteria are actually essential for us and they have a deep impact on our health. They affect our immunity, our heart, and even our mental health. Scientists often see this microbiome as an invisible organ that works together to support the body. That's why it's no surprise that for long-term spaceflight missions, like going to Mars or even farther, studying and understanding this invisible organ is extremely important. Scientists are not only concerned about the human microbiome, but the spacecraft also has its own microbiome. In 1998, on the Russian space station Mir, about 3 years before it deorbited into the Pacific Ocean, scientists found dozens of species of bacteria there, which we had never even imagined. They were hidden behind the surface panels. At that time, scientists saw this microbiome working like a beautiful machine installed on the space station. That microbiome was something like that, almost like a living thing, the way it is in humans, and sometimes it turns out to be dangerous for the astronauts' health. Just imagine that you and your companions are going on a long journey to Neptune, and suddenly you find out that there's a bacterium on your spacecraft that eats flesh. So how would you deal with that invisible enemy? And this isn't some crazy idea. In 2006, a team of scientists sent samples of Salmonella bacteria on the Space Shuttle Atlantis for 11 days, just to find out if, when that bacteria returns to Earth, it would kill mice much more easily. And it is believed that the bacteria that live in space are less affected by antibiotics, which is even more dangerous. This will weaken the astronauts' immune systems during long journeys in space. Now that we understand that bacteria are very important for any space mission, it becomes even more important to understand them. That's why, to reduce any such microbial threat and to deal with them completely, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory has launched a project. In February 2024, astronaut Kate Rubins collected samples of bacteria from about 100 locations on the ISS. They were kept in cold storage for a few months and then sent to Earth, where scientists will study their genetic signatures and name them. And a three-dimensional map of these microbes will be created. Here, is supporting growth. This map can tell us which molecules are connected to which microbe and how they are helping to increase the microbe community. As soon as we know this, we can promote the growth of good bacteria and reduce the growth of harmful bacteria. And that too just by controlling the amount of molecules or nutrients. With this, we will be able to find out that long. They can also be studied there, but the process won't be fast and we'll have to deal with this hassle soon. Malaji, when we go to another planet, we won't have the option to send samples back to Earth, nor will we have that much time. Because in any dangerous outbreak, every moment is precious, and we've seen this very clearly during the COVID-19 pandemic. How can a tiny virus cause such devastation across the whole world? The samples that Ruben has collected include two types of samples. While one sample is of microbes, the other sample is of their metabolites, meaning the natural chemical byproducts of that microorganism. This will allow us to link the microbes with their metabolites. And when we have this data, we can create small biosensors that will be able to detect these metabolites. You can imagine a device that you can hold in your hand to detect the presence of bacteria or fungi on a spacecraft. It will be just like a carbon monoxide detector, although such detectors will become a reality in the next 10 to 15 years, allowing for immediate action to be taken. To prevent any outbreak, cleanliness can be maintained at specific locations. This way, we will be able to make our future habitats safer. A lot of effort is made to keep the SC microbial populations under control on the space station. Every week, the ISS is thoroughly cleaned to prevent any such outbreak. Every astronaut on the ISS spends about 3 hours a week just on cleaning, which means that 6 astronauts spend around 18 hours every week cleaning the ISS. If you look at it, that's quite a lot, but the conditions on the ISS are completely different, where sanitization is extremely important. Because if you drop any kind of food on the space station, it doesn't fall to the floor like it does on Earth. It can go anywhere, it can stick to the ceiling, to the walls, meaning it can be anywhere. Meanwhile, some scientists believe that such a microbial outbreak is not a major threat to us on long interstellar missions or Mars missions. Their argument is that we have been living on the ISS for the past 2 decades, but we haven't seen anything like that there so far. Finding a dangerous bacteria is not necessarily a warning sign. We should only be worried when that bacteria starts making astronauts sick. We shouldn't end up killing the good bacteria around us out of fear of an outbreak. That's why this decision should be made very carefully. We should observe how different bacteria react in stressful environments, and we should make decisions based on that. At the same time, some scientists are concerned about the harm these bacteria could cause to astronauts and the spacecraft. There is also concern that these bacteria might go to another world and end up destroying it. Another concern is that when our astronauts travel to other worlds, meaning other planets, Earth's bacteria will also reach there with them. So there's always a fear that those bacteria might contaminate that planet. This worry is always there. Because of this, we might get false positive signs of life elsewhere. And that's why NASA and other space agencies take a serious approach on this issue. That's why NASA crashed its Cassini-Huygens spacecraft into Saturn so that no contamination could reach its moons, where there is still a strong possibility of life existing. Anyway, the thing is, our astronauts themselves act like pathogens for other planets. The astronauts who will set foot on Mars for the first time, they will have their own unique microbiome, and the spacesuit they wear will also have its own microbiome. If scientists are able to map that microbiome, they will be able to choose better materials for the suit and also clean it more effectively. Apart from this, scientists can also design a better spacesuit that leaks fewer microbes onto another planet. Apart from this, the benefits of studying this topic do not end here. Even though this research is happening in space, its applications range from space travel to Mars colonization. And suppose we build a colony beyond Earth, what kinds of problems would human civilization have to face there? How will we survive so far from home without any support? These are the answers to all such questions. So hello friends, I'm your friend Shashi, and today's video will take you into a future world where we are struggling to survive on Mars. Yes, Mars is the only planet near our Earth that gives us a new hope for life. This planet, which orbits the Sun just after our Earth, is quite similar to our planet. It is the fourth planet from the Sun and the seventh largest planet in our solar system. This bright red planet, floating in the darkness of space, has always attracted humans towards it. It is said that even though today this planet is completely cold and deserted like an endless desert, but there was a time millions of years ago when rivers used to flow here just like on Earth. The rising waves of the sea used to try to touch the shores, and perhaps there was life here as well. Due to some mysterious circumstances, everything here was destroyed. But can we humans make everything here like it was before? By the way, the idea isn't bad, and we humans have been thinking about it for a long time. Because compared to searching for another planet outside the solar system and settling there, going to Mars would be more economical. It's also close by, and even if we don't know everything about it, we definitely know a lot. SpaceX has also claimed that they are building such interplanetary spacecrafts that will be able to take at least 100 people to Mars. The owner of the company, Elon Musk, says that they are building a fleet of such spacecrafts which will keep delivering resources from Earth to the Martians for some time. But in the end, can these fantasies actually be implemented in the real world? If you look at it, to a large extent, no, because before going to Mars or establishing a human settlement there, we will have to think deeply about many issues. There are many issues that will need to be solved, such as the intense radiation there, toxic soil, low gravity, low temperature, and more. There are many kinds of problems there, like severe dust storms and how to deal with them. That's the plan. We should have these things ready before we get there, and this will just be the beginning. It will take us decades to build a vehicle that can land properly on Mars and also return to Earth. Coming back is also important, because no one would want to get stuck in that cold red desert just for the sake of fantasies, and that too billions of kilometers away from Earth. But let's take a journey today, a thought experiment in which we imagine that everything is perfect and we've made it final. We've decided that we're going to colonize Mars, so how will things work there? Let's find out. Recently, scientists published a study, the topic of which was the minimum number of people needed to settle on other planets. Jean-Marc Salotti published this study in the Scientific Reports journal on June 16, 2020. In this, they tried to find out how we can colonize a new planet. How many resources would we need there? How will the colony function? Who will lead it? How will people work there, and how much time will all this take? And most importantly, how many people will we need to sustain life there? So let's try to find the answers to all these questions based on this study. Now imagine that you have arrived in a wonderful future. Well, that's not going to happen at all, because in the study, the author has said that the future of our Earth is going to be very terrifying. But it will disrupt life. We will only have a few options left, either to settle on Mars or some other planet. And unfortunately, if that happens, forget about coming back to Earth or getting supplies from Earth, because at that time, Earth itself will be struggling for its own survival. Now the settlers who leave for another planet will have to manage everything on their own somehow. And in such circumstances, we will also face some other problems. For example, we don't know how well the people in the colony will be able to work together. What effect will the conditions there have on their mental state? Will they also communicate like normal humans there? Will they also want to share their time and resources with others there? One thing is certain, we humans are experts at ruining our own things, whether it's because of greed or the hunger for power. That's why we need to focus on organizational issues before going to Mars. We'll have to consider what equipment we'll need there. How will resources be extracted there? What skills will we need there? But there's another thing. we're leaving Earth in a panic. So we won't have much time to think about all these things. We won't have the chance to prepare for decades, and we also won't have a large amount of initial resources and equipment. And the human factor is so unpredictable that you can't plan for it step by step. People react differently according to situations, and their behavior keeps changing as well. That's why going to another planet, settling there, and our chances of survival are very low. But if we want to save human civilization, then we have to do it somehow. And in this case, Jean-Marc has explained some things very well that will have a deep impact on our survival. Although these are just variables of mathematical equations, the first variable is the availability of local resources. It means that wherever we are going to settle, like on Mars, how many resources will be available for us there, like water, oxygen, and other useful chemical elements. These resources should be easily available on that planet and should also be easy to use. And here, our biggest good fortune is that we won't have to start this work from scratch. We already know a lot about Mars. We Earthlings have published numerous research papers, reports, and books. From these, we know what all is available for us on Mars. We know where we are going and what dangers are waiting for us in that unknown world. We have known this for a long time. For example, we know that we can extract gases from the atmosphere of Mars and minerals from its soil. On Mars, we will easily find iron, glass, and even organic compounds. But here, the biggest problem we will face is the lifespan of the equipment we'll start with on Mars. We will have to extract as much material as possible before our equipment and tools break down or get damaged. Keeping them in good condition will become the most important thing. The second thing will be production capacity or the speed of work. We will have a list of equipment and a deadline after which all those equipment will break down. And the settlers will have to do enough work within that deadline so that they can remake those equipment and also make some useful products. If that doesn't happen, they won't be able to survive there. Besides that, people's willingness to share will also be very important there. Imagine that each settler is trying to survive on Mars separately. All of them are doing their own work themselves. They are trying to build the entire system on their own. Everyone is working on producing their own separate water, oxygen, and electricity. You all must have seen in the Martian movie how difficult this can be for us humans. It won't be easy for every Martian to handle so much burden and pressure, and for this, we will have to increase the number of people going to Mars. We will have to build a large colony where every Martian works like a part of a car and the whole car keeps running. That colony shouldn't be so small that it can't even meet its own needs. And it shouldn't be so big that the colony collapses because of its own needs. So for this, we'll need a balanced number of Martian settlers, and now we'll have to calculate that number. And this will depend on the resources available on Mars, the weather there, and several other factors as well. But speaking more generally, we can also calculate this number using a mathematical function. If you want to see those mathematical functions, we've provided the link to the article in the description. You can read it if you're interested. But in the article, 5 areas have been described to calculate this number. For example, for ecosystem management, energy production, industry, buildings, and human factor, we would have to send an expert for each area there. For example, some people who manage the ecosystem, some who are experts in energy production, some will handle industrial production, some people will develop infrastructure, and for the human factor, doctors, teachers for children's education, and some experts for sports and music will also be sent. That means whatever is necessary to run a different world, we will have to send all of that to Mars, and according to the calculations, that number came out to be 110 people. Yes, 110 people will be needed to build a new colony on Mars so that they can always survive there, not more, not less. The more people there are, the harder it becomes to predict the outcome. This is a rough estimate which includes some assumptions and some uncertainties as well. Every plan isn't perfect, but still, this number will be very useful for us. Now, scientists know how many people they will have to send to Mars on the first trip. But now the question is, if in the beginning people will live in a colony of 110 on Mars, will we have to build a lot of colonies there? If that happens, then we humans will start fighting among ourselves for resources there. And we already said in the beginning that we humans are very good at messing things up. Anyway, there are many more questions besides this, like what will happen to the rest of the billions of people who are our own people, who are just like us, and who will stay here on Earth? Will a few people leave billions of humans behind to die just to preserve human civilization? This question will definitely come to all of our minds. Anyway, it will still take decades for this to become a reality, and it could even take hundreds of years. It's also right to go to another planet, to colonize, and to terraform. But for now, the right thing is to save our Earth until we find a better option. We often hear that the health of our planet Earth is getting worse day by day. Due to rising temperatures, glaciers are continuously melting. Our cities are getting covered under the smog caused by pollution. Due to rising water levels, cities are getting submerged. And in some places, it has stopped raining altogether, which is causing droughts. That means all this has happened because of our human actions. These changes are causing a decline in the Earth's health. In such a situation, it wouldn't be wrong to say that soon this planet may no longer be suitable for us to live on. There will be some terrifying changes here that will force us to look for shelter somewhere else in this infinite universe. And when it comes to the idea of a home after Earth, the first thought that comes to our mind is Mars. And why shouldn't it? According to our understanding so far, Mars is the biggest contender for this spot. In many ways, it is quite similar to our Earth. However, we can't ignore the fact that currently, the factors that support life on Mars are almost non-existent. But as they say, humans tend to be a bit too optimistic, and it's just the optimism of the human race. As a result, we've been relentlessly pursuing Mars for the past 50 years. Sometimes we land our landers here, sometimes our rovers, sometimes we observe it from the sky, and sometimes we even dig into its surface. To be honest, this human fascination with Mars isn't pointless. It's worthwhile because Mars is the key to our destiny. Mars is the reality of our future. Therefore, on the path to reaching Mars and then establishing our presence there, countless challenges and difficulties are waiting for us. So, would you want to face these challenges? Wouldn't you want to embark on this future journey to Mars? Of course, that's why we, meaning Documentary Library, are about to embark on this trip to Mars today, where all of us together will go to Mars, settle there, farm, and live a happy life. So, shall we go? By the way, keep in mind that this trip is going to be one way only. So, passengers, please pack all your belongings carefully because there is no way back from this journey. Anyway, more than us, this gentleman is in a hurry to go to Mars. Yes, this is Elon Bhaiya from SpaceX. That's why he had these starships built to go on the mission to Mars. And not just private companies like SpaceX, even NASA is extremely excited for this endeavor. Right now, Elon Musk's company SpaceX and the American Space Agency NASA are both working together to prepare for the mission to colonize Mars. But what does that have to do with us? We are in our own world of dreams, where we are boarding our spacecraft and entering the atmosphere of Mars. Now, keep one thing in mind here. We are creating this simulation based on all the discoveries made up to today. And brother, if we miss anything, please forgive us. Anyway, after passing through the atmosphere of Mars, we have finally arrived. On its surface, where right now nothing can be seen except for a desolate wasteland, it looks like a graveyard. There is nothing else worth seeing on this planet. Let's start the work from here now. First of all, we need to build some shelters here where we can stay, which can protect us from the icy winds and dust storms on Mars. Within the four walls of these shelters, the deadly radiation coming from the sun won't be able to reach us, and we will stay far away from all these dangers. These modern shelters will be made from the soil of Mars itself, and who will make them? Well, the answer is 3D printers. Yes, to do most of the work on Mars, we will have to rely on these machines and robots. According to NASA's plan, most of these machines will be sent there before the Martian crew lands. As a result, all these tasks can be carried out immediately. During this time, these special types of machines will develop a unique kind of hybrid silicon from Martian soil, which will be used to build these shelters. By the way, the best thing here is that for now, most of the work on Mars will be carried out by our robots. These marvels, created by the powerful combination of machine learning and artificial intelligence, will prove to be very effective in establishing cities on Mars. They will be equipped with all those sensors that will help them work very efficiently, quickly, and precisely. After that, in a very short time, we will have plenty of homes ready. Then, high pressure zones will be created in these shelters. You already know that the atmosphere on Mars is thin, which means the air pressure there is very low, so low that humans cannot survive in it. That's why we'll have to arrange for proper gas exchange and pressure maintenance inside these capsules, and ultimately these things will have to be operated. It's essential for survival. A lot of solar panels will also be installed on Mars to generate electricity, which will convert sunlight into electricity and charge our machines. Inside these Martian shelters, astronauts can move around freely without any spacesuit or protective clothing. However, as soon as they step outside, they'll need them. A special kind of bodysuit, one that can continuously supply them with oxygen and also maintain the air pressure on their bodies. Now, if our astronauts want to go out and explore, they'll need a vehicle that can take them from one place to another on Mars. In such a situation, right outside the shelter, a special vehicle will also be waiting for them. There will be. Actually, when they left Earth for Mars, they took a lot of food with them, which is now about to run out. After the long journey of 8 months and landing on Mars, most of the food has already been used, and they can survive on the remaining food for only a few more months. They are constantly monitoring the actions of these astronauts. The crew present on Mars is also maintaining continuous contact. Everything is being monitored, from the robot's batteries to the cabin pressure. No, it's actually about farming on Mars. Well, this might sound a bit childish, but this is a reality of the coming future, and it's our scientists who are going to make it happen. In fact, these Martians are quite dedicated to their work. In this, with the help of Martian soil and some biofertilizers, a special type of analog soil will be developed, which will be excellent for growing crops like potatoes, tomatoes, and wheat. Or you could say that we've even learned how to grow food. I'm sure now a question must have popped up in your mind, and that is, where will the water for farming or even for humans to drink come from there? Water is necessary, right? Without it, No, melting the ice caps present on Mars to make water is quite tough, because it's pretty clear that we are not going to carry out these expeditions in the polar regions. In such a situation, this is our only way and sustainable option left. Now we have water, a roof over our heads, plenty of Martian food to eat, and overall, everything is going fine. But is this enough to settle humans on Mars? To colonize Mars, do we need to do something even bigger and more exciting than this? There is no limit to the flights of imagination of the human mind. This flight can go from one end of space to the other, but it is this long flight of imagination that has elevated humans from the category of apes to that of human beings. Today, we talk about establishing human settlements on Mars, which is about 34 million kilometers away from Earth. We know that there is no water on Mars, but would it be correct to say that there is no water on Mars? In which they claimed that about a mile beneath the surface near the south pole of Mars, there could be a very large lake. This research stated that there is a hidden lake about 12 miles wide beneath the south pole of Mars. Similarly, in 2018, scientists from the US Geological Survey identified 8 such regions on Mars, where due to erosion, large ice blocks have been found at depths ranging from about 1 meter to 100 meters below the surface. This means that there could be water on Mars. Similarly, a year later, in 2019, a report by the American Geophysical Union claimed that NASA scientists, using the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, by studying the data, found that there are several buried layers of ice and sand about a mile below the surface at the North Pole of Mars. After learning all this, you might be thinking that we've found water to live on Mars, but that's not the case. The water present here can't be used easily because it's trapped inside Mars's soil. We don't currently have any technology to extract this water and make it drinkable again. But NASA got a small ray of hope about this when, during the Mars Ice Challenge at the annual competition for university engineering students, some students presented models for drilling for water on Mars. About 10 students' models were selected from this competition. They had to extract water from simulated Martian subsurface ice at the Legacy Research Center in Virginia using their designs. A team from West Virginia University won this competition held in 2019. This team named the model Mountaineer Ice Drilling Automated System 3. This system was fully capable of identifying different types of rocks and ice layers, mapping them and drilling through them. After this drilling, it could easily extract water from that ice. To promote mining in space, NASA has partnered with the Australian Space Agency. Along with this, in July 2019, NASA, in collaboration with the University of Central Florida and Honeybee Robotics, presented a prototype of a spacecraft the size of a microwave oven to the world. NASA has named this spacecraft The World Is Not Enough, or WINE. NASA says that this spacecraft can mine the soil of asteroids. It can extract water present in the soil and then choose the next one and move towards it for mining. In this way, it can be said that technology for water mining is being made smarter in the direction of establishing human settlements on Mars. The most important thing for establishing human settlements on any other planet is the presence of an atmosphere that can support life there. But if we talk about Mars, its atmosphere is definitely not suitable for humans to live in anyway. Our new world does have its own atmosphere, but it is very thin and doesn't contain any of the gases necessary for human life. According to NASA, the atmosphere on Mars contains the highest amount of carbon dioxide. Here, compared to Earth, there is 95.3% more carbon dioxide present. On Earth, oxygen is 21%, while on Mars, there is only 0.13% oxygen. Because of this, it is completely impossible to breathe here. On Earth, 78% of the atmosphere is nitrogen gas, while on Mars, nitrogen is only 2.7%. Without nitrogen, plants cannot survive on Mars, and without plants, it is not possible to provide food for humans living here. Talking about atmospheric pressure, on Earth it is 1013.25 millibars, while on Mars it is only 6.1 millibars. Living on Mars without atmospheric pressure is completely impossible. The very low atmospheric pressure on Mars will force the air inside a human to escape very quickly. As a result, their internal body organs will get damaged, their eardrums will burst, and the water present in their body will start boiling rapidly. Because it is thin, it is not able to retain the surface heat, which is why it cannot prevent all the heat from Mars's surface from escaping into space. And because of this, the temperature of Mars drops down to minus 285 degrees Fahrenheit. According to a study published in Nature Astronomy in 2018, there aren't enough elements present on Mars to create such an environment that could sustain human life there. That's why it is said that to live on Mars, we will have to take essential things from Earth, and if we run out of them, we will have to come back to Earth to get them again, which will be very costly. The biggest problem in settling on Mars is the extremely high amount of harmful radiation present there. We know that energy is produced on the sun due to nuclear fission reactions, and because of this reaction, stars emit X-rays and ultraviolet rays. Apart from this, it also emits a large amount of electromagnetic radiation, which is very dangerous. But the Earth has powerful magnetic fields that protect us from the dangerous electromagnetic radiation coming from the sun. Similarly, because of Earth's thick atmosphere, dangerous rays like ultraviolet rays cannot reach the surface of the Earth. Our sun is not the only one that emits such dangerous radiation. Apart from this, there are many celestial bodies that emit this dangerous radiation, such as quasars, which constantly emit strong radiation. This radiation is so dangerous that if a human comes into direct contact with it, their nervous system can be severely damaged. Throughout their life, humans can suffer from dangerous diseases like cancer and skin diseases because of this. Earth has a protective shield for safety, but Mars doesn't have any such shield. Because of this, the biggest concern for scientists is how we can protect ourselves from all these dangerous radiations while living on Mars. The European Space Agency claimed in one of its reports that during a mission on Mars, they might have to face about 700 times more radiation compared to Earth. The European Space Agency is working on such technology that in the future can protect those present on Mars missions from the dangerous radiation there. The agency is currently creating radiation in the lab and working on developing materials that can protect against that radiation. According to a report in Astronomy, astronauts present on the International Space Station have conducted an experiment. In this experiment, they found out how cement can be easily mixed in microgravity. The idea behind this experiment is that one day scientists believe humans could use Martian soil to make concrete or some kind of glue, which could be used to build our structures for living there. In this way, we see that during future Mars missions, astronauts will have to face many problems while settling on Mars. How will we take things to Mars, which is so far away? How will we arrange drinking water there? And moreover, how can we protect ourselves from the extreme cold on Mars? This is still a topic of research and there is still a lot of debate about it. That means it can be said that the dream of settling a colony on Mars still seems like a long way off. Friends, what do you have to say about this? Please be sure to share your opinion with us in the comment section below. If you like this video, please make sure to like it and share it with your friends. For more informative videos like this, subscribe to the channel and enable the bell notification. Friends, we'll meet again soon with another new informative video. Until then, stay curious, be happy, and goodbye.